Hello and welcome back to my channel Learn English, and the topic for today is tenses, which will be applicable for grade 6 to grade 12. This is an overview which will give you an insight of how tenses can be easy yet tricky at times. So without wasting time, let's get started. Tenses and overview on my channel Learn English. What are verbs? So everybody knows verbs are action word. However, verbs are action word which represents action and state of being. For example, he is running, she was eating, I am dancing. Here the word running, eating and dancing is the work done by the subject he, she and I. Whereas she was happy, I will be sleeping, he is cute. Here, she, I and he, who are the subject, are not doing any work, but this is actually the state of being or the emotion that the subject is going through at the moment. Therefore, happy, sleeping and cute are called as state of being verbs, where in the sentence the helping verb was, will, is acts like a main verb in the sentence in state of being. A verb is needed to make complete and meaningful sentences. A verb has three forms: past, present, and future. What are tenses? In grammar, tenses are the category that expresses time reference. If the verb does not fall in the category of time, it cannot be a tense. Whenever the subject is doing the work, the verb is said to be dependent on time. For example, she is dancing. Here, the subject is dancing and she's performing an activity where the subject is doing the work. She can be dancing today, she can be dancing tomorrow, and therefore it represents time. However, the second example, she is cute, does not depend on time because we cannot say that the subject will be cute today and will not be cute tomorrow. Therefore, cute is an example of state of being which cannot be dependent on time. Therefore, it cannot be categorized as a tense. Regular and irregular verbs. Notice how the verb form changes from present to past participle with the example explained now. Ask is the base form of the verb. We need to change it into the second form, which is asked, and the past participle, that is asked. So when the past simple form and the past participle form does not change, it is called as regular verb. Whereas, take this example of take. Take is the base form of the verb, which is also called as the first form of the verb, which changes to took, the second form of the verb, and changes to taken, which is the third form of the verb. So whenever the past simple form and the past participle form changes, it is called as irregular verbs. Most of the examples are given in the picture below. These are some more examples of the list of regular and irregular words. For example, eat changes to ate and eaten, which is an example of an irregular verb, whereas kiss is an example of a regular verb where the past and past participle remains the same. What are to be verbs? To be verbs are called as helping verbs. For example, is, are, was, were, will, has, have, to, do, does are all examples of to be verbs. Helping verbs act as main verb in a state of being sentence. How do we conjugate to be verbs? We need to remember 6 people in order to conjugate to be verbs, that are I, you, she, we, you all, they. For example, I am writing. You are writing. She is writing. We are writing. You all are writing. They are writing. This is in the present form. Let's come to the past form. I was writing. You were writing. He, she, it was writing. We, you, they were writing. There will be no change in the future form. I will be writing, you will be writing, and so on. Conjugation of to-do verbs. Here we need to remember 6 people and also remember that the present tense of the person he, she, it changes to does. He does his homework, whereas I do my homework. Everything else remains the same. For example, you do your homework, you did your homework, you will do your homework. The only change happens with the present tense with the person he, she, it. Conjugation of have, has, had verbs. We need to remember 6 people. And here the change happens only in the present tense with the person he, she, it. For example, he has a coin and I have a coin. Everything else remains the same. They have a coin. They had a coin. They will have breakfast. So these are some examples. The only change we need to understand here is in the present tense for the person he, she, it has breakfast. This is a chart to understand verbs and tense. Verbs are action words and state of being which are dependent and not dependent on time. Verbs that are dependent on time are called tenses. For example, she is dancing is time dependent, whereas verbs that are not dependent on time, that means subject is not doing the work. For example, she is cute. Verbs that are dependent on time can be further divided into 3 types, which is past, present and future. They in turn can be divided into 4 aspects: simple, continuous, perfect and perfect progressive. Let's understand this with the help of a chart. This is a chart in a simple format with the rules that we need to follow while converting a sentence from the present to past to the future. Conjugation of the verb walk. As discussed earlier, tenses are of 3 types: present, past and future. Each have 4 aspects, which is simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. So we are going to conjugate the verb walk. For example, in the simple present, you need to use the first form of the verb, I walk. In the past simple, you need to use the second form of the verb, I walked. Future simple, you need to add will plus the first form of the verb, I will walk. Will plus first form of the verb. So we have completed this structure of simple tense. Moving on to continuous. In continuous, we need to remember that we need to add ing with the verb in order to make it continuous. For example, present continuous, I am walking. So depending on the person, we need to add am or is or are plus verb plus ing. If it was he, it would be he is walking. Past continuous, you need to add was or were depending on the person with verb plus ing. I was walking. Future continuous, you need to add will plus be plus verb plus ing. I will be walking. So we have completed the structure of continuous tense. Moving on to perfect. Simple perfect, we need to have or has plus the third form of the verb. For example, I have walked. So walk, since it is a regular form of the verb, the third form does not change. But if it was an irregular verb, for example, eat. So here the answer would be I have eaten. And here in simple past, since we need to use the second form of the verb, the answer would be I ate. Moving on, past perfect, we need to add had plus third form of the verb. I had walked. Future perfect, we need to add will have plus third form of the verb. I will have walked. So we have completed the perfect structure of the perfect tense, where we need to remember that only in the perfect we need to add the third form of the verb. Let's come to perfect continuous. Perfect continuous is the amalgamation of continuous and perfect tense where we need to add have plus been plus verb plus ing. Since the word continuous is present in the tense, we need to have the verb in the ing form. Past perfect continuous, we need to add had plus been plus verb plus ing. Future perfect continuous has will plus have plus been plus verb plus ing. I will have been walking. In the present perfect continuous, we can also have has depending on the person we are talking about. Moving on, discussion. Fill in the blanks by using the correct tense form of the verbs given in the bracket. We dashed to Guwahati by Rajdhani Express last month. We went to Guwahati by Rajdhani Express last month. Rajdhani train is a fully air-conditioned train. It provides food, cold drink, water and blankets at night. The journey was cool. It imparted solace to the soul and mind. On the opposite, there was a priest. He has been in the church of Patna for past 20 years. I was informed that he has been reading a book. He did not say when he would come. I hope you will pardon me soon. He taught me that good deeds are never lost. Question number 2, discussion. Arjun was a good friend of Lord Krishna. He never wanted to fight with his brother Duryodhan. It was Krishna who inspired Arjun by giving him Upadishyas of Gita. Arjun bowed down his guru before his guru and then he started fighting. The Mahabharata was written by Ved Vyas ji. The Mahabharata is an epic. So for the assignment, you need to conjugate the verb eat, sleep, see and talk according to the table discussed before in the slide. Thank you everyone. Stay updated, stay safe.